Okay, Chair, you're live on YouTube whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a meeting of the executive. The date is Tuesday, the 13th of April. It's 1 o'clock. This is a virtual meeting. We've all had our do's and don'ts before we've entered into the meeting. So if we can just make sure our conduct reflects what's being requested, that'd be great. We'll get straight into the agenda items. Number one being apologies for absence.
We just have the Mayor, Chair.
Thank you very much. This number two is declarations of interest. Take that silence as none. Number three is the minutes of the executive from the 16th of March. We've all had plenty of time to view and process these, so we won't go through the detail, but I will open up to see if anybody has any amendments they would like to make to the previous minutes. I'll take that silence as a no. Brilliant. So moving into today's agenda, item number 4 is actually a paper that I was bringing forward, and it is the Deputy Mayor and Lead Member for Children's of Social Care's update, really. This paper is brought forward today for noting within the executive, and it's to update everybody that the youth provision that we look to secure and deliver across the Middlesbrough area is going live as of April. So it's to inform people that will be starting as of this month. We've had confirmation from providers that they will be out across the town in their different roles starting as of April. There are 3 organisations that were successful in the recruitment and the process for us to appoint. There were Links, who will be delivering universal youth work. We have The Junction, who will deliver targeted youth work, and Middlesbrough Football Club Foundation that will be delivering the transition youth work across the town. Now, these services will be town-wide. They will be able to move and respond as needed across the town. So I would like to encourage the public, if they do want some presence or they feel there's a need in their particular ward, to highlight that with councillors who represent their wards, and in turn for those councillors to flag it through children's services, so we can make sure that there's some measured and balanced approaches in terms of the resources we have. We do need more. I went on record saying that we need more. We want more, but it's a brilliant start, and it's a positive step forward for us to try and engage with young people from many different backgrounds right across the town, to try and deter them from antisocial behaviour, encourage them to connect with services that can help build and develop their own confidence. So it's a very positive start, one that I'm really pleased to have been a part of, and I think as the months and years go forward, we'll be able to build on what the foundation we've set. So that is it in its entirety, really, in terms of the information into the executive. I'm happy to open up onto the floor to see if anyone has any questions or points, and if I can't answer them, I'd look to bring in one of the directors. So I'm trying to chair and answer at the same time, you guys, so forgive me if I miss people. So I'll go with, I seen Dorothy, then Dennis. Did anyone else raise a hand? And then Mika. So we'll start with Dorothy, if that's okay.
Thank you for that, Anthony. I'm so pleased this is going to start running for our young people in the town. But there's just a couple of things I would like to clarify with you. You talk about transition. Is the transition between primary and secondary to college, or what areas will it cover?
Thanks, Dorothy. The aim is for all transition periods for young people. So whether that's from primary to secondary to college, even college into the sort of the big world, you know, the big adult world, there will be provision there. So if there's any young people who are struggling with that particular area within their worlds, then I would advise them to reach out, make some contact, and we can ensure that the providers are directly linked to the young people that are needing that. But it is with all transition, Dorothy. So yeah, hope that answers.
Thank you.
When Dennis, then Mika.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask about match funding. Have you got any match funding to the funds you've already got, please?
One of the requirements that we looked to set within the procurement process was for the providers who were successful to look at their own organisations, looking to match fund and build on the finances that have been provided from the local authority. It was our way of being quite innovative with a small amount of money that we had, trying to get the best bang for our buck, you know, trying to ensure that we get the most response from the finances we're providing. So I'm absolutely positive over the next 3 years, we will be seeing these providers looking to actively access additional resources. And it's very different for a voluntary sector provider for them to access finances than it is a local authority. So it does open up a range of different opportunities for those services to grow the offer that they're providing for the young people of the town. And I know that the officers have been tasked with holding the providers to account and ensuring that the added value element of their contracts, which is around about external funding, is monitored and managed throughout the contracts that they have received.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dennis. Next, it was Mika, I believe.
Yeah, it was just a quick one to say I think this is an excellent start, Anthony. Really looking forward to updates on it as well. And I think, like you said, it can help with antisocial behaviour, because often the issue is that young people just don't have enough to do. We're seeing that a little bit in Nunthorpe at the moment. So I think it's important that once it's more established, we get somebody, a representative round, you know, our fortnightly AIM meeting, just to make sure that we're targeting the resource appropriately. But excellent start, and can't wait for further updates.
Thank you, Megan. I totally agree. You know, I think we would all like them on every street, you know, most evenings. But the reality is we have a limited element of resources that we're looking to maximise to its largest potential. That also coupled with the fact that the providers are starting as of today, well, this month, sorry. There is an element of settling in and growing, and for them to understand the contracts and the provision that they need to provide. But I'm really confident that with the appropriate challenge from councillors across the town and the executive bringing forward any sort of issues they might have, where any changes or developments are required or needed, we can ensure that that's managed through the leading officers within Middlesbrough Council to pass that on to the providers who are delivering those contracts. Does that answer the question, Mika? Bob. Janet, did you want to come in there, Janet?
Yeah, I just think it's excellent to have a youth service. It's much needed. Did you say the funding's going to last 3 years? Thank you.
Well, the funding can actually last longer than 3 years, but I believe it is an initial 3-year contract with the opportunity, if they are performing well and providing the service we need, for that to roll on. That will be managed by the procurement team and the management officers responsible for that particular area of delivery. I think it's important for us, yes, to get the right providers, but to also ensure that they are meeting the demand that we require within the contracts. So it's a very positive step forward in trying to safeguard their delivery and reward them contracts if they're doing well right across the town. Thank you, Janet. Is there any more? Fab. So can we take this paper as noted then, please? Yeah. Is that okay, Sylvia?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. So moving on to item number 5. The next 2 items will be covered by our Executive Member for Adult Social Care and Public Health, which is Dorothy Davison. And item number 5 is the Care Home Brokerage and Trusted Assessors Report. Can I hand over to you, Dorothy, please?
Thank you very much for that. This executive to approve the development of our in-house care home brokerage and the trusted assessor service following the termination of our current contract. The main function of the services is that to undertake trusted assessment for care homes, all assessments to be completed within 24 hours. Liaison with care homes for assessment, clarification and discharge progression, complete data collection, management and provide regular reporting, to provide support 7 days per week, including evenings. maintain good relationship with care providers, developing and portfolio of information on care providers to share with families to inform the choice of care home. Monitor bed availability within care homes each week so that the patients are focused on care homes where vacancies exist. To accompany patients, families and visitors to care homes, to provide support for hospital discharge and to liaison with social work and ward staff to facilitate discharge and to check transport and medication, etc. The decision we want the executive to approve the development of the in-house care home brokerages and the trusted assessor services following the termination of the current contractor. The planned staffing model for in-house, the funding will come from the Better Care Fund and will cost us a great deal less than what we've been paying. So I'd just like and I'm available for any questions, and I've got Eric here if he would like to add anything.
Thank you for that, Dorothy. I'll open up to the room first, so I can see Chris. Would you like to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that I'm really pleased with this, Dorothy, and well done to all the work that you've done on it, and to in fact get it at a cheaper rate is obviously of much benefit to the council as well. So well done on working through this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more?
Thank you for that, Councillor.
Janet, would you like to come in?
Yeah, does Middlesbrough Council have any care homes? If so, how many? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Janet. I think we're having a bit of connection issue with Dorothy. So can I give that to Eric, please?
Yes, the only residential unit we have is the very small specialist unit at Levitt Court. Like most local authorities, we no longer have our own sort of standard residential care homes and nursing homes.
Thank you for that answer, Eric. I mean, just before we go to voting, I've got a sort of a question and a statement. I think it's really, I find it quite comforting at times when the local authority are looking to bring some critical front-facing services back in-house, because it allows us to be accountable and responsible for the delivery of services that directly impact lives. And people who are obviously at a point of needing care homes are usually needing that very specialist and strong wraparound of support. So it's always encouraging to see that we are looking to take ownership of such delivery. I would imagine all appropriate. The other element is we always worry about jobs, don't we, in terms of people holding on to positions. So I would like to think and get some reassurance that the appropriate TUPE and job matching will be there. So this isn't going to affect jobs in the town. It's something that'll continue on with the delivery. Yes, Eric?
Yeah, that's correct. If we're picking work up from CHS, then as part of that transfer, we'll give appropriate consideration to TUPE, obviously.
Fantastic. Appreciate that, Eric. So we're here to vote on this paper. So I think the easiest way is to say, is there anybody voting against? Is there anybody abstaining? And I will take that as a full house of all four, please. That is okay, Sylvia?
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you, Sylvia. So moving on to the next agenda item, it is item number 6, which is changing futures funding opportunity. And again, it is over to Dorothy Davison.
Thank you, Chair. Can everybody hear me okay? Because everything went a bit blurred before. Yeah,
We've got you again, Dorothy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll just go into some details with regards to this. The Ministry of Housing and Communities and Local Government have invited areas across the country to bid for changing futures, funding to better support those who experience multiple disadvantages, particularly homelessness, substance misuse, domestic abuse, mental health issues, and contact with the Criminal Justice Service. This closely matches our intentions for the integrated model that has just been launched on the 1st of April. Middlesbrough Council is leading a bid on behalf of a wide range of organisations, including Redcar and Cleveland Council, Health, Police, Probation, that have formed the South Tees Partnership. Our expression of interest was successful, and South Tees Partnership is one of the 21 shortlisted areas. For that, and the executive member, sorry, I've got confused. The EOL has not been attached, and an apex due to this commercially sensitive nature of at this stage, given the change, future progress is a competitive and bidding process. As executive member of Adult Care and Public Health, I'm the political lead for this bid. The bid must be submitted by the 6th of May. Therefore, this is why it's come to executive today. A formal submission on a South Tees Partnership basis with Middlesbrough Council as the lead organiser. This is what decision I'm asking executives to approve. Subject to the bid success approval to receive the grant funding on behalf of South Tees Partnership and are distributed amongst the partner organisations. The Director of Public Health, as the named lead for the South Tees Partnership, and consultation with myself, receives delegated authority to allocate future funding for changing futures up to 150p. The Director of Public Health, as the named lead for South Tees Partnerships, receives delegated authority to sign the bid on behalf of Middlesbrough Council and as lead authority for the partnership. Thank you, Chair. Eric, are you taking anything else to add, or is it Mark?
It'll be Mark. Mark's on the call.
Is there anything else you would like to add, Mark?
No, I think you covered it perfectly, Dorothy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from anybody,
Thank you.
please?
Before that, Dorothy, just for me to come in, I mean, as people know, I've had an active role with a lot of what's been discussed in this report and what's being proposed in terms of troubled adults and vulnerable adults across the town. Now, there's been a massive shift within the local authority to firstly look at the services we're commissioning and providing, which Dorothy is quite rightly highlighted in the report, which is the integrated model. We've secured an extra 4.9 million pounds from through the ADA approach, and this is another element that will greatly assist and support that overall delivery for individuals suffering domestic violence, sexual violence, substance misuse. You know, it will be a fantastic add-on to the very healthy services that we're going to look to be providing over in Middlesbrough over the coming years. So, I mean, I just want to say quite openly that I am in full support of this, and I will be looking to help drive some of the elements of this with obviously through the procurement process with Dorothy and the officers. So yeah, I'm really pleased to see this come forward and can see a lot of value for the people of Middlesbrough if we are successful in securing the funding that we're looking to apply for. So we'll go into the room. We'll go to Chris, Mika.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question, please. It does say, thanks to the partnership with the National Lottery Fulfilling Lives Fund. Have we already got money from that, Dorothy? Do you know, please?
I think Dorothy's mic.
You're on mute, Dorothy.
I can quickly come in there. We do have a small pot of money, Chris, that is going to be used for us to develop our bid for us going forward. So I believe it was a sum of around about £10,000 that will assist the local authority, the South Tees Authority, really, to pull together a bid that can be submitted in to try and ensure we can secure as much finances as we can going forward. But that money that is being spent has actually been given to the local authority for us to use for that specific purpose.
Right, and that was from the National Lottery Fund.
And I'll pull Mark in here because Mark will give a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I think it was just about extending the timescales for it. It was originally 2 years, and the National Lottery funding came in and added to the resource that was already there for the Changing Futures to extend it to a 3-year programme. So it just meant that we've got more to go at, really.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I think Mika, did you put your hand, raise your hand, Mika?
Yeah, it was just more of a quick comment, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so just to say, I think this is a great opportunity, like you've said, Anthony and Dorothy, to help some of our most vulnerable people. And it looks like we've made a great start on the bid, being awarded £15,000 to develop it further. And it was just to really say, I mean, some of the things that are highlighted in the report are really sad. You know, we've got some of the highest levels of drug-related deaths, highest levels of alcohol-related deaths on record, just really devastatingly sad and entrenched issues. And it was just to say really that I hope that we receive the maximum amount available for this.
Thank you, Mika, and I know that's certainly the aim. Certainly the aim from the team that's been pulled together. You know, there's a drive to look to maximise the finances we can receive to provide and enhance the services we're looking to already deliver. Is there any other questions for Dorothy? No? Fantastic. So we're looking to vote on this, so we'll go the easiest route. Is there anybody against? Anybody abstaining? So I will take that as a full round of people for. Can that be noted, please, Sylvia?
Yes, Chair, carried.
Thank you. Excellent. So moving on, item number 7 is the community asset transfers, and this will be brought forward by the Executive Member for Finance and Governance, which is Chris Hobson. Over to you, Chris. You're muted, Chris, or unless you're having sound issues.
I'm going to try and unmute you, Chris. Bear with me.
Whilst we're trying to fix Chris's connection, is there an officer that might want to carry this forward?
If Councillor Hobson isn't able, Chair, I'm okay to speak to this.
Chris, can you just give a thumbs up if you were okay for Ian to carry this paper? Yeah. Over to you, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. The community asset transfer, this paper is in connection with 4 properties: Brambles Farm Community Centre, Langridge Initiative Centre, the International Centre, and 22 Hoylake. All of these properties have tenants currently occupying the buildings with non-commercial arrangements in place. However, the council still has a financial pressure to invest in maintenance and remedial work. All 4 current occupiers have now approached the council to ask for a community asset transfer on these buildings. Whilst all 4 are clearly demonstrating that they are contributing to the council's strategic plan, officers have been clear that in the interest of transparency and fairness, any expression of interest regarding the community asset transfer would need to be assessed against any comparative expressions received as part of an exercise to gauge interest in the wider community amongst other groups. A number of community asset transfers have already been carried out successfully, offering opportunities for localised social regeneration, improved access to educational facilities and growing small businesses. The current community asset transfer policy was developed in 2012, therefore this policy will be followed as part of this exercise, and learning will assist in the policy being refreshed and presented to Executive alongside the community governance review process, which is also currently being progressed. Each community asset transfer will be based on a long leasehold arrangement of up to 25 years. Each property will be transferred to a single organisation or cooperative who may sublet part of the property to other providers, providing it accords with the principles of the transfer. Details of property condition surveys will be available to organisations submitting business cases. However, no financial assistance will be available for building repairs or enhancements, and therefore business cases will need to demonstrate financial robustness. The report asks that Executive approves progression of the community asset transfer policy for the potential execution of community asset transfer leases for Brambles Farm Community Centre, Langridge Initiative Centre, the International Centre and 22 Hoylake, subject to appropriate expressions of interest and submission of appropriate business cases, and that a future report will be presented to Executive outlining the outcome of the financial appraisal and recommendations for approval for each community asset transfer based on its own merits, following appropriate due diligence. The community asset transfer policy will be refreshed alongside the community governance review process, which is currently being progressed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ian. I'm not sure if we have any sound from Chris, but I'd like to hand to Chris to see if she has any comments before we discuss the paper as it is a paper. Chris? Still no sound. Still no sound, but Chris said no, so she's happy. So I'll open it to the room. Is there any questions in the room? I'll go to Dorothy and then Janet. Dorothy?
Yes, it's with regards to these buildings. Are these voluntary run, and do we as a council, are we still responsible for all repairs, including the inside of the building? Or is it just all voluntary run, and do they accumulate money to be able to run these buildings?
Would you like me to take that, Chair?
Yes, please, Ian, if you could pick this up all the way through.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Davison, it'll depend on the individual arrangements with each one, but basically the council will be responsible for external and structural maintenance, and the groups will normally be looking after the insides themselves in line with their current arrangements with the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet?
Can I just ask, will we be monitoring these? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, when we do a community asset transfer, obviously we will have the business case in advance and we will work with the group to monitor it for two reasons. One, for financial sustainability, to make sure we're in a good position, and secondly, to make sure that they're continuing to do what they're committed to do with the building in exchange for the lease.
Excellent. Chris, did you raise your hand there? You wanted to come in, Chris?
Just to say, I think I might be back on now.
You are. We've got you. Is there anything you want to add, Chris, into the discussion?
No, I think Ian covered everything there. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Chris. I mean, the voluntary community sector, it's really great to see them looking to grow and become a fixed part of different areas. So it's always encouraging to see organisations looking to take on buildings and provide sustainable services right across the town. We all know how important community facilities are. I think it's good that the local authority, at a time when they can support these organisations to get a foothold within their own companies and within these communities, it's really positive. I think the flagging of sustainability is fair, and I would be encouraging officers to ensure that the appropriate support and input is provided to these individuals looking to take on the assets to ensure that they are sustainable going forward, and at no point it becomes a detrimental or a costly exercise for the public purse or the local authority. But I'm really happy to see long-standing organisations looking to take a foothold in communities. So yeah, I think it's a really positive paper for so many reasons. So just to check, I've just opened this. This report is to be voted.
Asking for approval, Chair.
Yeah, so we're going to look to take a vote. We will go the easiest route again. So anybody against? Anybody to abstain? And I will take that as a full pass for. Can we note that, please, Sylvia?
Yes, Chair.
Fantastic, thank you. So the next paper is item number 8. Again, it's Chris Hobson. So I'll hand over to you, Chris, if you would like to take this one forward, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is the community benefit for asset disposal. And I know that we have spoken about this previously, but it's about the asset disposal policy is to facilitate local communities benefiting whereby a council-owned asset is disposed within their locality above market value. The asset disposal policy sets out a comprehensive framework and governance structure for the disposal of the council assets. It ensures that all disposals have clear objectives, decisions are made based on full information, and that there is a full audit trail leading to any disposal. In some circumstances, an asset which is disposed through open market may attract above market value. As such, amendments have subsequently been made to the asset disposal policy to allow local communities to benefit should such circumstances arise. These amendments include 3% of the disposal price is made available to the ward for the community use. The funding is maintained within the Finance Directorate, and spend within the community is agreed by the Director of Finance, Executive Member for Finance and Governments, and the relevant ward councillors. This will ensure that any capital receipt expenditure will meet accounting requirements. And I asking for approval for revisions to the asset disposal policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. We'll open up to the room. Start with Dennis and Mika.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Hobson, how will this affect 106 monies? Thank you.
This will be in addition to 106 money. Councillor McCabe, I mean, 106 money's worked out from the start. So this will be a slight extra funding for the wards, but you've got to remember this is only on above market value, so the 106 money would be still there on anything that would be market value.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dennis. Mika?
Yeah, it was just to say I think this is a really positive thing, Chris. I think it's a real step forward for us as a council, because we know that sometimes when assets are sold, it can really impact on communities. So to see that there's going to be that direct investment back into the community is great.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to agree with you there, Councillor Smiles. I think it is a good thing to do because at least we all have upheaval from time to time from developers and one thing and another, but at least if the residents have something that comes along for them, it is a little bit to pacify them. So thank you for your comment.
I mean, I would just like to share what Mika has put into the room. I think it's quite an innovative way for us to reward the people of Middlesbrough for assets or land that they might have used within their space. We've forever heard, haven't we, from members of the public, and I know I've experienced it and lived it in the Ayrsham ward. What have the people who've lived here and families up within the communities received by different sales of pieces of land, and often or not, it's very difficult for us to account for what has actually been received within those immediate communities. So I think this is a great way for us to give some sort of cash reward, if we can call it that, where communities can use any additional finances for the benefit of their own area. I think it's really, really positive for every single ward in Middlesbrough. We never know which asset or which space might be moved on. So yeah, I think it's a really progressive and very important paper. So I would like to thank Chris and the teams for bringing this forward and giving this sort of chance to the people of Middlesbrough for them to be able to access some additional finances. So with all that said, we're needing a vote on this paper. So I will ask for anyone against, anyone abstains. So I will take that as a full pass for. If we could note that, please, Sylvia.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. So moving on to item number 9, which is the tender pipeline approval. Again, back over to Councillor Chris Hobson.
Thank you, Chair. This is about the tender pipeline approval. A tender pipeline for April 2021 to the 31st of March 2022 has been developed as part of our work programme. In order to strengthen governance over procurement, we wish Executive to agree the intended procurement activity and delegate authority for contract award to the relevant director in consultation with the Executive member. The tender pipeline will be a live record which will be maintained by the commissioning and procurement team and available for the supplier market to view on the Council's website. In the event that new tenders are added during the year, then individual executive reports will be presented. Please note that this should be minimal because this should only occur where new funding is available. So all we're asking is that we can take these that are in the pipeline already and just agree that they can go out to tender. And I'm asking that the Executive approves the tender pipeline for 2021-22, including the delegation and responsibility for award to the relevant director in consultation with their Executive member. So each Executive member would be involved as well. If it comes under their executive portfolio, then they would be involved as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I'll open up into the room. Do you have any questions? No? I think it's only fair I will say that the initial paper, there was a lot of question and debate in relation to the paper coming forward. And I think something I would want to make really clear is this isn't about changing the processes, it's about speeding those up. It's to make sure that the officers can be a lot more effective and efficient in terms of the processing. They will still be, the decisions will still come under the exact same levels of scrutiny, and we'll still have Executive members responsible for those decisions and discussions that are going forward. So I, for one, are for the paper. I know that it will make a difference to some of the functioning at senior level on these particular discussions and decisions. So if nobody has anything else to say, we can take this straight to vote. Yeah. So anyone against? Anyone abstaining? So we'll take that as a full all for. Can we note that, please, Sylvia?
Yes, Chair.
Fantastic. So moving on, we're now on to the Executive member for regeneration. However, this paper has 2 Executive members named, so I'm happy for either or, whoever wants to present to raise their hand, and I'll bring them in. And it's for the Boho residential site market and disposal.
I think Ashley's presenting this, Anthony.
Thank you, Chris. Over to you, Ash.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, this is for the Boho residential site marketing and disposal. What we're looking for today is for the Executive to approve the commencement of a process to market and dispose of the council freehold interest in land at Middlehaven in order to facilitate the Boho residential development, and the principal to allocate grant funding up to 2 million from the Towns Fund, where an appraisal has confirmed that there is a funding gap that would otherwise make the scheme unviable, subject to confirmation of compliance with subsidy control rules. So the reason behind this is the elected Mayor of Middlesbrough has an ambition to attract an additional 4,000 people to live in the town centre over the next 10 years. The ambition accords with the priorities for place set out in the Strategic Plan 2023, which states that the council will develop Middlehaven as a residential, leisure and commercial centre of national significance and build more town centre homes to boost business and increase vibrancy, while reducing the need to build on green space. The Housing Local Plan 2014 also identifies a priority to develop new housing to meet aspirational needs and create a sustainable and balanced mix of housing in order to deliver successful regeneration on brownfield sites, such as Middlehaven. So with regards to the overall site, in March 2020, the Executive approved the Boho Next Generation, creating the Digital City Report, which sets out plans for delivery of Boho X, which forms the first phase of a wider vision master plan for the Digital City campus, encompassing a much wider opportunity that could provide up to 250 million of business and residential development. So the land down there has been valued by Valuation Estates at £220,000 per acre, giving a land value of £275,000 in this case. An asset disposal business case is attached as Appendix 2 to this report. The site has been subject to little interest from market house builders due to market forces, and the potentially onerous cost of developing in this location makes it a relatively unattractive development opportunity. As a result, there is a need to consider the proposal from a long-term perspective, where the council works with the development partner to mitigate the effect of low values in the short term. So the disposal of the site will generate the following benefits: an opportunity to kickstart the Mears urban living agenda, the redevelopment of a key regeneration site for Middlesbrough, the development here of 90 high quality homes. This will also bring in around £125,000 a year in council tax based on 90 Band A homes. The 2014 study by the Centre of Economics and Business Research shows that every pound invested in house building, a further £1.42 is generated in the wider economy. So this is a really positive report. It's something that we really want to see kick-started, and we're looking for your approval today to get that done, and I'll take any questions on that.
Thank you, Ashley. Can we have a show of hands for any questions on this paper? No. I think, is there anything that any officers want to add in relation to the paper? No? Great. I mean, I think this is another example of how we're striving forward in terms of the development of a lot of brownfield space within the Middlesbrough area. Do you know, we're forever under pressure to increase the number of houses that we have in the town, and to be driving such initiatives in areas that have not seen housing for decades, I think shows the intention for us to try and greatly improve the space that the brownfield space that we have in and across the town. So and the fact that we've managed to subsidise a lot of the cost by national funding is really beneficial to the town, you know. So yeah, I think it's a very positive paper, and there'll be another element of added value for the Middlehaven site. Is any with Chris?
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to add that, you know, we are showing a lot of initiative here. People didn't really want to build over the border, if you like, and then we're going to have to find a different name for it, because I think we really need to give it a classy name now, because people are taking an interest now, and although we have had to try and work hard, and I know that Ashley and the Mayor and quite a few people have worked really hard to get this going, I think it is now starting to move, and it will be brilliant to see that, you know, we have built things over the border, and we have actually got a really good development over there. I think when people see the houses over there, I think it's going to start and change people's minds. So I really do think we need to look for a classy name for it. And yeah, I just think it is something that is going to take off, and we should be really proud of ourselves and what we've done. And you know, there's been so much work gone into this, but we're getting there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Dorothy?
Yes, I would just like to follow on from what Chris has just said. This will be absolutely amazing. We have a wonderful college down in that area, and modern buildings to actually match up with that. And we've got a station that's going to be revamped. We're very close to that, where people can travel to anywhere to work from Middlesbrough Station. So I think this is great, and let's just see it get done. Thank you.
Yeah, totally agree, Dorothy. There's been a lot of huge developments, you know, over the last couple of years, and collectively, I think them improvements will have a long-term and a sustained impact, you know, in terms of lifting Middlesbrough going forward. I do have to disagree with Councillor Robson, though. I think it'll always be over the border. I'll use my own area as an example. They're trying to give Winniebanks the name of Acklam Green. I think it was 15 years ago. And if you talk about Acklam Green, no one knows where you are. If you mention Winniebanks, then they certainly do. So I think I think that'll be a generational thing. It'll always be over the border, and I'd get a lot of grief off a lot of friends and people that I know from over the border if we do. But bit of fun there, Chris. Yeah, it'll always be over the border, I think. So we go to the vote. Let's have a look. Yeah. So anyone against this proposal? Anyone abstaining from the proposal? I will take that as all for. Can we note that, please, Sylvia?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. We are now moving on to item 11. Let me just have a look. I will raise the fact that there is two parts to item 11. But before we get onto that, we will be introducing any other urgent items before we go on to the exclusions. So we'll start with item 11 and then we'll move forward over the next 2 or 3 agenda items. So I would like to hand back over to Councillor Waters, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll be brief with this one, just so we can get a quick rundown and explain to everyone what we're asking for today. The following is asked of the executive today: that the information contained in Part A of the land of the report be noted, and the decision be taken once all financial or exempt information contained in Part B of the report has been considered. So the purpose of this report is to set out the delivery framework for the delivery of recently allocated 14.1 million from the Future High Streets Fund. A significant proportion of this is proposed to be spent within the council-owned asset, the Captain Cook Square Shopping Centre. The report also sets out the operational parameters against which officers are delegated to manage and let the asset, and the formal approval to deliver the Future High Streets Fund interventions in line with the strategic business case and funding criteria as set out in the successful bid. It requires a member decision on the basis that we're following the announcement of our bid relating to the Future High Streets Fund. The approval programme budget of 14.1 million exceeds the Council's key decision threshold and therefore requires executive approval to commence delivery. In addition, it's necessary to agree the delegated operation parameters for lettings, debt recovery and asset management, which enables transformation of the asset to build the proportion of leisure uses. Similarly, the approach will respond to asset management issues arising from COVID-19 and resultant retail sector distress, in line with council policies, while providing as much support as possible to the individual tenants there. I'll leave it there for that, and we'll pick it up in Part B.
Fantastic, Ash. Well, is there any question before we go into the private entry? Yes, Mika?
It was just more of a comment, really, to say I just think this is so transformational for Middlesbrough. We want to be like the leisure hub, not just for Teesside, but more widely in the North East as well. And I think something in the report that my eye was drawn into in particular, it says that we've been really inundated with interest from regional and national leisure operators, which is brilliant. And that's despite COVID as well. So I'm really excited as to how this is going to move forward.
Thank you, Mika. I mean, I'd like to add before we go into the private session that the town centres for a long time now have really been suffering right across the UK. And even before COVID, you know, we were seeing the demise of very, well, vibrant areas, vibrant town centres, you know. So for us to get the opportunity to have access to this level of finance, to bring forward a plan that we're hoping will really drive the leisure industry within Middlesbrough and bring people into the centre of town, transform the town centre into something that we can hopefully use for generations to come, I think it's a really positive opportunity, and one that I know my colleagues and officers are really excited to get involved with, and I'm sure with the right drive, the right energy, we will be able to provide something that's truly amazing for the people of Middlesbrough. Well, that's the aim, I know. So it will take time, there will be process, but I know with the right will and the right people, we will get there in the end. So yeah, really excited to see what we bring forward on this particular delivery. So as we move forward then, I'm going to ask if there's any other urgent items to be considered for discussion. I've had nothing brought to me by officers, and I've had nothing brought to me prior to the meeting. Is there any? I'll give the opportunity in the room. No. So number 13 is to look at the exclusion of press and public for the second part of item number 11. This is to consider passing a resolution persuading section 100A, the Local Government Act, excluding press and public from the meeting during the consideration of the following item. And we do need a vote on this. So can I ask if anybody is against the exclusion? No. Anybody wanting to abstain? No. So I will take that as 4. So I would like to close this meeting to the public. Wish everybody well. Take care in terms of the new COVID restrictions. I know everybody's really excited to get out and to mix with family and friends and use leisure facilities and hospitality facilities, but please be mindful that we need to do so with due consideration, and I hope everybody remains very healthy and a lot more happier with the freedom that we've received. So yeah, I'd just like to close on that note.
Thank you, Chair. I'll advise everyone when the stream is ended.